Perfect. Okay. The camera's gonna shake. It's just gonna shake because I'm sitting here and oh, that's good. It's gonna shake every single time I move. So yeah. Let me get oh my god, hello. Okay, horrible. Hi, and welcome to Yap About It episode 1. Oh my god, the camera is shaking so much. Let me just try not to move. I don't know. Hopefully this will become a series. I don't know yet, but my mom suggested that name to me and I thought it was really cute. So, yeah, welcome to Yap About It episode 1, The Secret History. So let me explain what this video is. I'm currently taking a medieval history class. Medieval history / theology, I guess, because it's a lot about saints and stuff, people that were influential in the church or in Christian history. And 3 months ago, we read a chapter about Procopius and the secret history and the reign of Justinian, who, if you don't know, was a Byzantine emperor in Greece, I think. Sorry, whatever. Here, let me show you. This is the curriculum book, I guess, whatever it's called. I don't know. This is the book that we read it out of. So I will be quoting from this. Please do not come after me, because you know what? Even though it's a school book, it's got some great things in there. Got some great passages and stuff like that. So it's the Humanitas book by Junius Johnson, PhD. And there's a chapter in here about the secret history by Procopius. We'll get into that in a second. Hello? Oh my god, the camera's shaking so much. You guys, I'm really sorry. I had a tripod, but it broke. So you're set up on 2 boxes, wooden boxes, a computer, and a tissue box. That's what we're working with today. As my videos go on, they will get better. I was supposed to film in the living room today, where I could have gotten better lighting and a better background. This is my bedroom wall. So this is what we're dealing with today. I'm working through it. Okay. Okay. Let me just do a little disclaimer. I am a 16-year-old person. I don't really know what I'm doing. But I love video essays. I love history. I want to be an art historian when I grow up. And I really love medieval history, especially. And so I do not know what I'm doing. I am not a credible source. Most of the things that I've studied for this video have been from Wikipedia and from the books that I read. Also, I am sorry if you hear rumbling or grumbling in the background. It is raining outside. It is Florida. There's thunderstorms, okay? Please do not come after me for this. This is just a for fun thing because I'm a freak and I like history that much. So I just wanted to do this for fun. Awesome. Now we can get into it. So, this is a purely curiosity-based endeavor. Okay, so the secret history. I'm pretty sure that anyone who knows anything about books or reading or book talk will know about The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read this when I was 13. Probably not a great idea. It's really not a book for 13-year-olds. I was reading it at 13 though. So, yeah, I read this at 13 and fell in love with it. This is my favorite book of all time. As you can see, very highlighted, very well loved, very well worn. I've read it maybe 5 times, 4 or 5 times, 6 or 7. I'm not an expert on the book. I just take from it what, resonates with me. And just Donna Tartt's writing is beautiful, and I love it. I have read her other 2 books. Love The Goldfinch. The Little Friend is not my favorite. This is not a video about Donna Tartt. I'm sorry. Anyway, I really love The Secret History, and as soon as I heard that we were going to be reading a chapter about the other secret history by Procopius from the 6th century, I believe, I was like, what? Like, does this have anything to do with Secret History by Donna Tartt? And as we were reading about it, I was like, hey, this honestly, like, there's a tether here, and I'm gonna figure out what it is. So I went ahead and bought the book, the other book, The Secret History by Procopius. And I read it. It took me a long time because it was low-key boring as hell, but I read it. I also have a mini version for my reading journal. Irrelevant. So I read it. And it was interesting, to say the least. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a backstory on each book. If you're watching this video, you probably should have already read The Secret History, because I'm not gonna explain the whole plot. I'm not gonna explain the whole plot of The Secret History by Donna Tartt or The Secret History by Procopius, but I am going to explain a little bit of the backstory, especially of this one, because I think it's important to know the historical context to know what the tether between these two is. So let me begin by saying Donna Tartt studied classics in college, Bennington College, where she went to college. How many times can one person say college in a sentence? So she would have either heard about this book or read it. Therefore, I believe that she got the idea, or not the idea for this book, but at least the name from it, because there are a lot of things that are very similar between these two books. Let me explain. Can I die? Okay. So it's mostly just the premise of these two books that are very similar, sort of the outline, the idea. But there are a few very specific things that I thought were very similar between the two after reading this one, which I knew nothing about. But it's mostly just the outline and the idea, because the first thing that I noticed, I will read to you from the textbook. Actually, you know what? Let me explain, first of all, I'm gonna use this card. First of all, who was Procopius and what is The Secret History? So Procopius was a Palestinian Christian, born around 482, and he likely received an education at the School of Gaza. He knew Latin and Greek. Later on in his life, became the legal advisor to Belisarius, sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, to Belisarius, who was the chief military guy for Justinian, who was an emperor around the same time. I will explain about Justinian in a moment. So he was privy to almost everything that went on in the emperor's life, in his military escapades, you know, his projects, things like that. What he was doing for the kingdom, basically, and his personal life. He was the author of 8 books on Justinian's wars. He also wrote again, sorry if I say this wrong, a panegyric, which is a praise poem for Justinian's buildings that he had built throughout the kingdom. His public projects, basically, throughout the empire. And he was also the author of The Secret History, which was never published, because if it was published, it probably would have gotten him executed. Because it's talking mad shit about Justinian, like genuinely, and his wife. Like, he was, like, ratting on their asses horribly, which is crazy because, and hold up, let me explain. Justinian was a really great emperor. He was one of the only emperors to not persecute Christians, to help the Christians. He did amazing stuff for law, which some of his stuff for law we still use today. He was basically like the foundation of it. So he was a really awesome emperor, and every account of him from this era, people that knew him personally, all say that he was a great guy. He had a generally, you know, great exterior. He presented really amazingly to people. But in this account, he is portrayed as a villain, like a horrible person, just doing some of the worst sins that you could think of. and his wife. Mostly his wife. I think that Procopius just really hated women, maybe, and just wanted to be horrible towards his wife. And I will explain why. So Justinian is regarded as one of the most influential Roman emperors of his time. He rewrote Roman law, which is still the basis of civil law in many modern systems. He was described as being energetic and hardworking, amiable and easy to be around. But there was something that he did in his life that caused a lot of controversy, which was marrying his wife, Theodora. Theodora had previously been an actress, and in this time, this profession was not regarded with anything kind, because most actresses and actors were also prostitutes. So she was engaged in a lot of, activities like that. So she was very looked down upon. But Justinian didn't really care about that because he loved her. And ultimately, it didn't matter what her past was, because she did a lot of really great stuff for the Roman government and was one of Justinian's top advisors, which caused a lot of scandal, a lot of controversy, but it was ultimately good in the end. The Secret History by Procopius was written around the time that Justinian was at war with the Goths. It was not found until centuries after it had been written in the Vatican Library. It was found in the Vatican Library. And nobody really knew why he wrote it. It was kind of a mystery because there was no reason really for him to be writing it, because Justinian was a great guy. And again, none of the other accounts of Justinian's life portray him in this way. So it's really regarded as a very untrustworthy book, a very untrustworthy account of a person, and it's regarded with a lot of, as if Procopius had a massive grudge. I'm really sorry if you can hear the rain. It's loud. It's kind of crazy right now. It's like really pouring. So I'm really sorry, guys. This is the only day I could film, okay? Jesus. Okay. Let's continue. Maybe it's relaxing. ASMR. You never know. Anyway, so that's basically the backstory of this book. Let me read a couple passages from the textbook, which is what really got me thinking, why is this connected to this? Quoted from the book, not my words. Thank you. The Secret History contains details that seem hyperbolic, and this has caused many historians to doubt its accuracy. The subtext feels personal, more like a result of a grudge than the clear, unbiased observations of a first-hand witness. So, why did Procopius hate Justinian so much if he was such a great guy? Well, during Justinian's reign, a lot of horrible things really happened. A lot of natural disasters, a lot of civil unrest. There was changes in climate due to earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, a lot of stuff happening with the earth this time. There was a plague, tsunamis. Hey. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, just a lot of crazy stuff happening at this time. Riots, people were getting into fights all the time. The war with the Goths was pretty crazy. And Procopius was seeking to blame somebody for this happening. To quote the textbook, it says, "It is undeniable that Justinian's reign was an eventful one. And to the medieval mind, which was trained to interpret history morally, it was natural to look for the cause of all this death and destruction in the actions of sinful humans. Justinian and those closest to him were the targets Procopius settled on." So, to me, when I read that, I was like, oh my god, it's Richard Papin. It's literally Richard Papin, because there's this theme of insanity under certain circumstances. And what kind of circumstances was Richard Papin under? Murder. Yeah, murder. And drugs. And drinking. A cult. So, all of this destruction in Procopius' time really takes its toll upon him, and he was seeking someone to blame. Nothing so terrible really happened in The Secret History by Donna Tartt, but Richard did find himself in circumstances that could have easily caused him to go mad. And we see this happen, like, a lot. If you've read the book, you can really tell how his consciousness goes from sane-ish to really not so great. And I think that, and let me explain. So to me, after reading this book, to me, I think that Justinian in this book is Henry in this book. Okay, so my phone ran out of storage yesterday, but I found a way to beat the system, and I'm gonna try and finish this video before I run out of storage again.
Hello, rest of the world, it's James. I don't know if you guys can hear me or see me or if this is even gonna work. I think I may have found a loophole while the rest of America is banned.
As I was saying before, when I cut out, I believe that Richard is Procopius and Henry is Justinian. Richard/Procopius being the narrator, obviously, and Henry and Justinian being like the antagonist, kind of. They both, Richard/Procopius has a very skewed view of the person that they're writing about. It's not really necessarily true. And they're both portrayed as sort of the villains, the main antagonists, the horrible people, the wrongdoers, basically. And Richard sometimes really hates Henry for what he does and what he stands for. But also, I'm wondering, could Henry as Justinian be Henry through Bunny's point of view? Because it's clear that Bunny underwent the most mental instability. That's why they killed him. So perhaps he viewed Henry in a more angry and biased light. I mean, consider his anger after finding Henry's diary in Rome. He was livid. So it could be either one of those. That's just my theory. I also believe that in this interpretation, Camilla is Theodora, because they're both women who were viewed very skewed or very askew by their male observants and the narrators. Camilla being the only girl in the classics group, and Theodora being a woman with a rough past, and one of the only women that had a lot of influence at this time. But the thing is that Camilla is revered in her group. She's very looked up upon because she's the only girl. I mean, except by Bunny, because Bunny really hated her and was very misogynistic. But mostly she's revered, but she's also desired. She's lusted after a lot by these other people. And consider Theodora's past. I mean, I think that Procopius just kind of lusted after her and thought that because of her past, she was making everybody lust after her. And Theodora was shamed and hated, whereas Camilla was more idolized, I guess, if that makes sense. Theodora had power, she had influence, and that made her mysterious and evil to a lot of her male counterparts. She was accused of doing magic, witchcraft, and I would also like to note that Camilla was seen as a deer during the Bacchanal. And a deer represents a lot of things, notably curses, seduction, and magic. And in Greek mythology, the deer is associated with the goddess Artemis. So you can kind of see the relationship between these two. I don't know. Okay, another thing that I noted, Procopius writes in Greek. Greek replaced Latin in the later Roman Empire because it was the more common language for the more lower down people, the poorer people, and it would reach a lot more people if he wrote in Greek. And the Greek students, the classic students, were enraptured by Greek. I mean, they loved Greek. It was their language. It was Henry's main language, to be quite frank. Like in this passage, Richard describes the other classic students as it being their own worlds. They weren't connected to the regular world. They'd have the same experience of looking up from their books with 5th century eyes and finding the world disconcertingly sluggish and alien, as if it were not their home. So, that's a very random one, but I think Greek is important here. Another thing, I think this is actually one of the most important things connecting these two books, is that they both have extremely unreliable narrators. Everybody knows that Richard is an unreliable narrator, and everybody knows that Procopius is an unreliable narrator because he's the only one who described Justinian in this way. And we already know that Richard is an unreliable narrator because, as we've already discussed, you know, his madness, just crazy stuff. He also admitted to being incredible at lying. He says, if there's one thing I'm good at lying, or he says, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's lying on my feet. It's sort of a gift I have. So he basically admits that he's an unreliable narrator and he's prone to lying. So I think that that's especially important to consider, especially when we're looking at characters being associated with other characters in the different books. It's important to note that they're both written by a narrator who has a skewed perception of the world. Another point that I'd like to bring up is that in The Secret History by Donna Tartt, we are not privy to one of the most important scenes in the book, which is the first murder, the murder of the farmer. We get a glimpse of it as Henry is describing it to Richard, but that's like a second-hand account basically, because Richard wasn't actually there. So we're not actually there for one of the most important scenes in the entire book that really ties the whole book together and what starts this chain of events happening. But in The Secret History by Procopius, we are privy to everything. So I think that's like an interesting juxtaposition, I guess, is that in this book, we don't get to see the most important thing, and in this book, he's highlighting all of the most important things, or so he thinks. Okay, this is one of my favorite points that I think really, I don't know, it's just exciting to me. The final lines in this book are describing how Justinian dies, and once he dies, like, people will be free of him. It says, anyway, whenever Justinian, if he is a man, departs from this life, or as the chief of demons, sets this mortal life aside, then all those who have the fortune still to be alive will know the truth. And I thought that was really interesting, considering how in this book, we already know that Henry has somewhat cheated death because he's in that holding place between life and death in Richard's dream in the final scene of this book, where he's talking about, like, his passport. He can't find his passport to get back to Earth, basically. And I think that in both of these books, Henry and Justinian are portrayed as cheating death, or being so evil that they can't really pass on to an afterlife because they don't really deserve it, maybe. Okay, and one of the last things I'd like to bring up is this question. What happened to Richard after he wrote The Secret History? You know, he didn't publish it, or we don't really know what happened. But we don't think that, I mean, I wouldn't say that he published it. It's, you know, he's admitting to helping in murder, so I don't think that he would publish that. He didn't publish it, so maybe, just maybe, it was found long after his death, almost like another little book that was found long after Procopius's death. Like, you know, what did Richard do after he wrote this? Did he run away? Did he commit suicide? Or did he hide it and wait until someone might find it years after he was gone? Okay, and now I'm just going to read a couple of quotes from this book that I thought really fit in with the story just a little bit. It's not really necessary, but it's just a little bit of extra evidence. So this is Procopius describing Justinian. He was never angry, even with those who did not behave or speak properly in his presence. But on the other hand, he never felt ashamed of any of the murders he committed. Henry? Winter? Another one. For everywhere there was utter chaos, and nothing was ever the same again. In the confusion that followed, the laws and orderly structure of the state were turned upside down. Sounds a lot like the group after Bunny's murder. As things went from bad to worse, all men came to learn by experience that man's innate wickedness knows no limit, when it feeds on the knowledge of those who have come before, and the license of which impunity bestows encourages it to victimize all whom it encounters. It seems to swell inevitably to such proportions that it is not even possible for the minds of the sufferers to grasp its immensity. This just kind of reminded me of Henry and maybe Julian, like passing his wicked ways, his wicked ideas to Henry, maybe? Okay, so that's basically all the points I think I wanted to bring up. This took a lot more research than it probably seems like it did, but it did. I had a really great time doing this and reading this book. It's really good, honestly. I mean, it's boring, but it's good. And I love history, and I think it's really fascinating. I love connecting anything and everything I can to The Secret History by Donna Tartt, because I'm a freak about that book, like, genuinely. So what does this mean? I'm not trying to say that Donna Tartt copied Procopius's, like, outline of a story or something, but it is a very interesting idea, to say the least, that she might have gotten the inspiration for The Secret History from this, because you can definitely tell that there are some tethers. You can definitely tell that there are some really interesting relationships between the two that I think make a lot of sense when you put them into the context of someone at college studying this and being like, man, I can make something out of this, because it is really such a fascinating concept. The idea of writing something so horrible that you could get killed for it and then hiding it, and like it gets found centuries after you die. It's such a message in a bottle situation. Like he never like thought that this account of Justinian would get out, and that must have been terrifying to him. I mean, even though he was probably wrong, it doesn't matter. It's still such a cool lesson to be learned. It's such a cool piece of history that I didn't know about before. So I'm really happy that I got to do this video. Let me know if you guys want more Yap About It videos. I'm probably going to make them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I just really like doing this. I like getting the chance to yap about things that a lot of people in my life don't really like care about. I'm the only one who like knows about this, so it's fun to just pretend like people care. And maybe this will find somebody that does care. And if it is, hi, welcome. There will be more like this. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Guys, go comment right now. Comment, Yap About It is cool. Comment, McKenna, love you. Comment, we want more. Comment, never stop. Comment, you're pretty. Comment, you know, you have a great speaking voice. Anyway, like, comment, share the video. I can't do this. I'm not an influencer. More to come, hopefully. This is the first episode of many, but this has been Yap About It, episode 1, The Secret History. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys soon.